Lyra was born in a world full of colors and skies that burned with twin suns. Her people were tall, strong, and proud. They could run across mountains in one breath. They could fight storms with bare hands. They were known across the stars for their power, but Lyra was different. From the day she opened her eyes, she could not move her legs. Her body refused to obey. She would lie on the bed of light, watching other children leap like sparks in the wind. She would listen to the sound of laughter outside her window while her own world stayed still. A world without steps, without running, without freedom. Her mother was rich beyond measure. She owned ships that crossed galaxies. She held mines full of crystals and metals that glowed with endless power. People bowed when she entered the hall. Yet when she came back to her home, she looked at her daughter with tears she could not hide. Her wealth, her power, her endless reach meant nothing against the silence of her child's legs. Doctors came from every city on the planet. They placed machines around Lyra. They whispered strange words and promised cures. But when they left, they lowered their heads. No one dared to say it to her face, but all believed the same thing: Lyra would never walk her. Mother did not give up. She built new hospitals. She paid healers from other stars. She searched across the universe for anything that could give her child the gift of movement. But every time hope rose, it fell again, and every night she sat by her daughter's bed and whispered, "You are my light, you are my strength. Even if you cannot walk, you are my reason to keep breathing." Still, Lyra's heart carried a storm. She wanted more than pity and love. She wanted the ground under her feet. She wanted to feel the world through her steps. She wanted to stand like the others stand. And inside her chest a small flame burned, even against all the voices that told her it was impossible. Then one day the humans arrived. They came not with weapons, but with strange machines and soft voices. They called themselves ambassadors of peace. They brought medicines made with nanotech. They told stories of saving lives where even their own science had failed. Lyra listened from her bed, her eyes wide, her heart beating fast for the first time in many years. The leader of the humans was not tall, not glowing with power. He was simple, he was calm. But his words struck deeper than any fire. He said to her mother, "Your daughter's condition is beyond your science, but not beyond ours. If you will allow us, we will try." Her mother froze. She had spent fortunes and lifetimes chasing miracles. Every road ended in pain. But when she looked into her daughter's eyes, she saw the flame that never died. She nodded. With trembling hands, the humans began their work. They examined Lyra with scanners that hummed like whispers. They spoke in codes and numbers, but their faces carried quiet confidence. They told her this would not be easy, that the path would be painful, that the chance of failure was real. But they also said one thing that no one had ever dared to say before. They said, "You might walk." That night, Lyra could not sleep. She stared at the ceiling while tears ran down her cheeks. She was scared. She was shaking. But inside her soul, one voice kept rising above the fear: "I will walk. Even if it is one step, I will walk." Her mother sat beside her, holding her hand. Her voice broke as she whispered, "You are my everything. If this fails, I will not forgive myself. But if it works, then the stars themselves will bow to you." The humans prepared the room with lights that glowed like dawn. Lyra was taken inside. She felt her chest tighten as if the air itself was too heavy. The humans told her to trust them. She closed her eyes and whispered a single word, "Please." The process began. Her body jolted, pain ripped through her like fire. Her voice cracked into cries that echoed through the chamber. Her mother covered her mouth to stop herself from screaming too. The machines worked. The humans pressed buttons. Nanotech entered her blood, racing to places no medicine had reached before. Her fingers curled. Her back arched. Her legs twitched for the first time in her life. It was agony. It was hope. It was the sound of a silent world beginning to move. When the process ended, Lyra collapsed against the bed. Sweat drenched her skin. Her breathing was ragged, her eyes wide with shock. The humans whispered to each other. The mother rushed forward. She touched her daughter's face and asked if she was all right. Lyra Lips moved slowly, and a weak smile appeared. She whispered, "I felt something." Her mother fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. The humans looked at each other with quiet fire in their eyes. For them this was only the beginning. But for Lyra, this was the first time she believed the impossible might become real. Her silent world had cracked open. And now a new chapter was waiting. The chamber was silent after the first treatment. Lyra lay on the bed, her body trembling with exhaustion, yet her eyes glowed with something new, hope. Her mother held her hand as if it would vanish if she let go. The humans checked her heartbeat, checked her nerves, checked every signal that ran through her fragile body. They spoke in low voices, but Lyra heard the words that mattered most. She responded. The process worked. It was not a cure yet, but it was a beginning. Days passed, and the humans stayed by her side. They brought small machines that wrapped around her legs like living armor. They told her that these devices would help guide her nerves to remember what they had never done before. They would teach her body how to listen, how to connect, how to obey. Her mother watched every session with eyes red from sleepless nights. She had seen doctors fail again and again. She had buried her hope so deep it was almost gone. But now when she saw her daughter's toes twitch, when she saw a spark run through her legs, she pressed her hands to her mouth and cried silently. Lead Human sat with her one evening. After a long session, he told her the truth. This will be hard. It will hurt. There's risk. Her body could collapse. The nerves could burn out. She might even lose more than before. Are you ready for that? The mother shook her head with fear, but before she could speak, Lyra whispered from the bed, "I am ready. Even if I fail, I will try. I do not want to live as a shadow anymore." Her words fell heavy in the room. The humans bowed their heads in respect. The mother broke into sobs, pressing her forehead against her daughter's hand. She had never realized how much strength her child carried inside her small frame. The training began the next day. The machines pulsed with faint light. They sent signals through her spine into her legs. Lyra screamed at the first wave of pain. It felt like fire racing through her bones. Her mother rushed forward, but the humans held her back and said, "If you stop now, she will never walk. Trust the process." Lyra clenched her fists, her face twisted in agony. But she did not ask them to stop. She bit her lip until it bled. She whispered between cries, "Keep going." Each day was the same pain, sweat, tears. But slowly tiny changes began to appear. Her toes curled without the machine. Her ankles shifted. Her thighs shook when she tried to lift them. She fell again and again onto the floor mats. But each fall was not failure. It was proof that she was fighting. Her mother stayed with her every night. She wiped the sweat from her brow. She whispered stories from her childhood, stories of the stars, stories of dreams she had buried, and every night she repeated the same promise. "One day you will walk into my arms, and I will never let you go." The humans watched in silence. They had worked on many patients across galaxies, but never had they seen such stubborn fire in one so young. Her will became their strength. Her tears became their mission. One evening, after weeks of torment, the lead human brought her a frame. It was made of shining metal and straps that wrapped around her body. It would hold her upright like a cage, but it would also teach her balance. They strapped her in. Her mother's heart raced as she saw her daughter rise for the first time in her life. Lyra was standing. Not by her own strength yet, but standing. Her mother covered her mouth, tears streaming down. Lyra looked down at her legs shaking under the fuzzy weight, her face twisted with fear and joy. She whispered, "I am tall. For the first time I am tall." Her mother could not hold herself. She rushed forward and hugged her daughter tightly, even though the frame was between them. The humans smiled, but they did not relax. This was only the beginning. They knew the hardest part was still ahead. In the weeks that followed, Lyra trained every day. She held the bars with shaking hands. She moved 1 foot forward an inch, then another inch. Her legs gave way, and she fell more times than anyone could count. Her knees bruised, her arms ached. Her voice cracked from crying, but still she whispered through every fall, again, again. Her mother begged her to rest sometimes, But Lyra refused. She said, if I stop now, I will never walk, and I cannot live with that. One night when everyone else had left the room, Lyra tried alone. She gripped the bars, her body weak, her arms trembling. She tried to lift her right leg. It rose for a second, then crashed down, and she collapsed to the floor. The pain shot through her body. Her tears spilled onto the cold ground, but she smiled. She pressed her hand against the floor and whispered, I felt the ground, it hurt, but I felt it, and that means I am closer. Her mother found her there on the floor and rushed to lift her up, but Lyra shook her head. Do not carry me, I must rise myself. Her mother froze. Her heart broke and healed at the same time. The next morning the humans checked her progress. They saw the bruises on her knees, they saw the fire in her eyes, and they knew she was ready for the next stage. They told her and her mother, the final stage will be the hardest. She will learn to move without the frame. It will break her or make her. The risk is high. Do you still want to continue? The mother's lips trembled. She wanted to scream no. She wanted to shield her daughter from all pain. But before she could speak, Lyra raised her head and answered yes. Because even if I fall again and again, I will still be closer than I was before. The humans nodded. They prepared the chamber for the trial. Her mother stood at the edge, tears streaming down her face. She whispered to herself, please stars, please gods, please anyone listening. Let her stand, let her walk. Let her dream come true. And as Lyra stepped into the chamber once more, the silence was heavy. The air was thick with fear and hope. The world held its breath, because the moment was coming closer. The moment when impossible would either break or become real. The chamber was ready once again. The humans placed soft mats across the floor, because they knew she would fall many times. The machines hummed faintly, but this time they did not hold her body. This time it would be her own strength, her own will, her own fight. Her mother stood at the edge, her hands pressed together, her eyes shining with tears before the test had even begun. She wanted to believe, she wanted to scream that it was enough, that her daughter did not need to push further. But she could not, because when she looked at her daughter's eyes, she saw the fire that no fear could extinguish. Lyra gripped the support bars, her legs shaking as they carried more weight than they ever had before. The human spoke softly, guiding her breath, telling her to focus, telling her to trust her body. Her heart pounded like thunder inside her chest. Every beat was a drum of war against her own weakness. Lifted her right foot, slowly trembling like a fragile flame. For a moment, it rose and she gasped. Then it crashed back down and her body tipped forward. Her arms caught the bars at the last second. Her mother gasped and cried out. But Lyra smiled through the pain. She whispered, I stood on my own. Even for a breath I stood. Humans nodded with quiet pride. They told her to rest, but she shook her head. She wanted to try again, and again, and again. The hours stretched. Her arms ached, her knees burned, her throat was raw from screams. But every time she fell, she forced herself to rise. Her mother wanted to run to her and lift her, but the humans stopped her with gentle hands. They said if she rises alone, she will rise forever. If you carry her now, she may never carry herself. Her mother covered her face with her hands, sobbing silently. She could not watch yet. She could not look away. Days turned into weeks. The training never stopped. Her body grew stronger, but the pain grew sharper too. Sometimes her legs trembled so much that she collapsed before even standing. Sometimes she woke in the night crying from spasms that tore through her muscles. But every morning she returned to the chamber. Every morning she faced the bars. Every morning she whispered again. Her mother tried to bribe the humans to give her daughter rest. They refused. They said, she does not want rest. She wants victory, and victory demands struggle. Lyra kept pushing. She began to hold her balance for longer moments. She began to move her foot an inch, then 2 inches before falling. Every inch was of triumph. Every bruise was a medal. One evening when the stars burned bright outside her window, she sat alone staring at the floor. Her hands shook from exhaustion, her body heavy like stone. She whispered to herself, maybe I will never walk, maybe I will always fall, maybe this dream is too heavy for me. Her mother entered quietly and knelt beside her. She cupped her daughter's face in her trembling hands and whispered, "Do you know why I never gave up searching for a cure? Because when I look at you, I see a warrior. You were born to rise, not to give up, not to live in shadows, but to stand in the light. And if you keep trying, then even if you fall 1,000 times, you are already greater than anyone who never tried." Lyra pressed her forehead against her mother's shoulder. Her tears soaked her mother's robe, and her voice broke as she whispered, "Then I will try again tomorrow." The next day she returned to the chamber with new fire in her chest. She gripped the bars and pulled herself up. Her legs quivered, but she did not collapse. She moved her right foot forward slowly, carefully. It touched the floor and held. Her breath caught. Her heart soared. Her mother's scream echoed across the hall. She had taken half a step, but the moment shattered when her body failed her, and she tumbled down. The humans rushed to check her, but she was laughing through tears. She whispered, I moved. I moved." Her mother fell to her knees, hugging her with shaking arms. For the first time she believed this dream was not impossible. The humans increased the training. They taught her to use her arms for balance. They taught her how to fall safely and rise faster. They adjusted the machines to guide her nerves with more precision. They watched in awe as her determination pushed beyond their expectations. Weeks later, another attempt came. This time she managed 2 steps before falling. Then 3. Her mother cried louder each time. The humans clapped softly, though they rarely showed emotion. Council of her people came to witness. They watched in silence as the girl who had been called broken stood taller than ever before. But the struggle was not only in her body, it was in her heart. There were nights when doubt crushed her, nights when she wanted to quit, nights when she lay awake asking herself why she should keep suffering. But each time she remembered the first twitch of her toes, the first spark of movement, the first half step, and she whispered, if I stop now, I lose forever. But if I keep going, maybe, just maybe, I will walk. One night when the chamber was empty, she returned alone. She gripped the bars, her legs trembling. She lifted her body. She tried to step. She fell hard, crashing onto the mats. Her arms ached, her chest burned, her tears blurred her vision. But she pressed her hand against the floor and forced herself up again. She fell again. She rose again. She fell once more. But this time, when she pushed herself up, she managed to balance without the bars even. For a few seconds, her body shaking like a fragile leaf in the wind. But she was standing, truly standing. Her mother entered silently and froze when she saw the sight. Her daughter upright on her own for the first time in her life. Her hand flew to her mouth. Her knees buckled and she collapsed with tears. Lyra turned her head slowly, her face wet with sweat and tears, and she whispered, I am standing, Mother, I am standing. Mother crawled forward and wrapped her arms around her without breaking her balance. She cried into her daughter's shoulder, and for the first time the weight of a lifetime lifted from her soul. The humans found them there. They saw the sight and knew the girl had crossed the border between impossible and possible. She had proved that her fight was not in vain, and though she had only stood for a moment, though her legs gave way again, she had shown them all. The struggle was not the end, it was the path to something greater, the path to her first step. The day arrived when the humans said she was ready. Her body was stronger, her nerves awake, her will unbreakable. They gathered the council, the healers, the scientists, and even the voices of her people, who once whispered that she would never stand. They all came to witness the impossible. The chamber was brighter than ever, soft mats lined the floor, the bars stood waiting, but this time the humans whispered to her, today you will try without them. Today you will rise with nothing but yourself. Her mother stood at the edge, her hands shaking, her chest tight with fear. She had begged the humans to wait, to give her daughter more time, but her daughter insisted. She said, if not now, then when I have fallen enough, now I must walk. The humans strapped light supports to her ankles, but only to prevent injury, not to carry her. They helped her rise slowly, carefully. Her body trembled as she stood upright, her legs shaking under her weight. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. Her mother whispered under her breath again and again, "Please let her stand, please let her move, please let her dream." Lyra looked at her mother and gave a small smile through sweat and fear. Then she turned her eyes forward and whispered to herself, "I will walk." The chamber fell silent. The human stepped back, all eyes fixed on the small figure trembling under her own weight. Her right foot rose slowly, unsteady, as if the air itself was pulling her down. Her body swayed, her arms stretched for balance. For a heartbeat, it looked like she would fall. Her mother gasped. But then the foot touched the floor ahead, and she had taken her first step. The silence shattered. Her mother cried out and collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face. The council rose to their feet in shock. The humans clapped softly, though their eyes burned with emotion. The moment had come. The impossible had become real, but Lyra did not stop at one step. She tried to move her left foot forward. Her body shook violently. Her knees threatened to give way, but she pushed with everything inside her. Her foot dragged forward and touched the ground. She had taken 2 steps. Her chest burned, her vision blurred, her body felt like fire. But she smiled through tears. She whispered, "I am walking." Her mother crawled forward on hands and knees, her sobs breaking the silence. She reached out but did not touch, afraid to break the fragile miracle unfolding before her. She whispered again and again, "My child, my light, my warrior." Lyra tried again, another step. Her legs nearly collapsed, but the human shouted encouragement. Her mother screamed her name with love and fear. And then she took the 3rd step. Her body could not hold longer. She collapsed forward. But before she hit the ground, her mother caught her in her arms. They fell together onto the mats, sobbing, laughing, shaking. Her mother pressed her forehead to her daughter's face and whispered through tears, "You did it. You walked. The stars themselves will remember this day." Council watched in silence, their pride broken, their arrogance humbled, for they had declared her hopeless. But she had proved them wrong. The humans stood proud, for they had given more than medicine. They had given hope. Lyra clung to her mother, her chest heaving, her body weak. But her eyes glowed brighter than the suns outside. She whispered, "I took steps. I felt the ground, and I will walk again." Her mother kissed her forehead again and again, unable to stop crying. Her tears fell like rivers. Her voice broke as she said, "No treasure, no empire, no power means more than this moment. You are my miracle." The humans declared that training would continue. They told her that each day she would grow stronger, that one step would become many, that one dream would become a life. Word spread across the planet. The story of the girl who had been paralyzed since birth, who now walked with human help, spread through every city, every home. People who once pitied her now bowed in respect. Children whispered her name with wonder. Elders held their children tighter with hope in their eyes. But for Lyra, none of that mattered. What mattered was the ground beneath her feet. What mattered was the arms of her mother around her. What mattered was the promise that she could rise again tomorrow. That night when the chamber was empty, her mother sat beside her bed. Holding her hand, she whispered softly, "Do you know what you gave me today? You gave me back my soul. I lived in darkness, fearing that your life would be only pain. But when I saw you take that first step, I was reborn, and I will never forget this moment." Even when the stars themselves fade, Lyra smiled weakly, her eyes closing from exhaustion. She whispered, "Then tomorrow I will give you more. Tomorrow I will walk further." Her mother kissed her cheek and whispered back, "Tomorrow and every day until the universe itself bows before you." And as they held each other in the quiet of the night, the truth burned inside them both. This was only the beginning. Her first step was not the end of her story. It was the doorway to a new life, a life that humanity had unlocked, a life that her own will had carved out of pain and tears. The world outside did not sleep that night. The story of the girl who walked for the first time spread like fire. The people waited to see what she would do next. Would she walk again? Would she run? Would she stand before them as proof that even the impossible could be broken? Her mother knew the answer. Her daughter was unstoppable. Her daughter was a warrior born from pain, shaped by love, fueled by hope. And tomorrow the universe would witness more. The chamber was full again the next day. But this time it was not only the council and the humans and the healers. This time it was broadcast across the planet. Every screen, every hall, every home showed her face. The girl who had taken her first step. The girl who had broken the chains of her fate. Her mother stood beside her, dressed in the finest robes, though her eyes were swollen from nights of crying. She looked not like a ruler, not like a millionaire, but only like a mother who lived for one thing, her child. The humans prepared the chamber once more, but today they did not guide her. They simply stood at the edge, watching with quiet faith. The world wanted to see if it had been real, or if it had only been a dream. Lyra stood again, her legs trembling, her arms stretched for balance. Her heart pounded, her breath short, but her eyes burned with fire. She whispered to herself, "I will walk further today." Her mother's hands shook at her side. She whispered prayers to the stars over and over. Her body leaned forward, her right foot rose and touched the ground ahead, then the left. Step by step she moved across the chamber, her face twisted in pain, her body trembling, her legs weak, but she kept moving. The silence of the chamber turned into gasps, then into cries. She had taken not one step, not two, but many. Her mother could no longer hold back. She screamed her daughter's name, her voice breaking into sobs. She fell to her knees, tears pouring down her face. The world watching saw the richest woman in the galaxy collapse like a child overwhelmed by love. Lyra turned her head, her body shaking, but her lips curved into a smile. She whispered loud enough for all to hear, "Mother, I am walking, and I am walking to youth." Crowd erupted into cries of awe. The humans smiled, their eyes wet. The council bowed their heads, unable to deny the miracle before them. Lyra reached her mother one step at a time until finally her legs gave out. She fell forward, but into the arms of her mother. Her mother caught her and held her close, rocking her as if she were still a newborn child. She cried into her hair, whispering again and again, "You are my miracle, you are my treasure. Nothing in all the stars matters more than youth." Humans stepped forward and bowed to both of them. They said, "Today humanity did not only heal a child, we healed a bond between worlds. Today we proved that compassion is stronger than any weapon or empire." The mother lifted her face, tears streaming but her voice strong. She declared before the council, before the cameras, before the universe, "Humans are not strangers. They are not outsiders, they are family. They gave my daughter what no wealth, no science, no power could give. Gave her steps, they gave her life. They gave her hope. From this day forward, they will always be welcome. They will always be honored." The world erupted with cheers. Messages poured from every corner of the planet. For the first time in history, her people bowed not to power, not to fear, but to love and to hope. But in that moment, none of that mattered to Lyra. She only cared about the ground beneath her feet, the arms around her, the heartbeat of her mother against her cheek. She whispered weakly, "But with joy, I will walk again tomorrow, and one day I will run, and one day I will dance." Her mother laughed through her tears and whispered back, "And I will be there to see every step, every run, every dance. Until the stars fade, I will never leave your side." The humans smiled, the council bowed. The people cried, because the truth was clear. Humanity had not conquered with ships or weapons or gold. They had conquered with compassion. They had written their name into the heart of another world with a single act of kindness. That night the mother carried her daughter in her arms, back to their home. Though Lyra protested weakly, saying, "I want to walk myself," her mother only smiled and said, "You have walked enough for today, my love. Tonight you rest in my arms, and tomorrow you will rise again." They sat together under the twin suns as they set across the horizon. The sky glowed with fire and gold. Her mother whispered, "This moment is worth more than all the riches I own." This moment is the crown of my life. Lyra leaned against her shoulder, her eyes closing slowly. Her voice soft but firm. Then let us make tomorrow even greater. The world slept that night with hope burning in every heart, and when dawn came, the people looked not at their rulers, not at their armies, not at their treasures. They looked at the small girl who had once been paralyzed and now walked with trembling legs. They looked at her and saw proof that nothing was impossible. They looked at her and saw that humanity was not to be feared, but to be loved. Her story spread across galaxies. Other worlds heard of the miracle. Other rulers sent messages of peace to humanity. All because one girl had taken her first step. All because a mother's love and a child's will met with human compassion. But for Lyra and her mother, none of the galaxies mattered. What mattered was the next day, the next step, the next moment together. And when Lyra stood again, when she placed one foot ahead of the other, when she fell and rose and fell and rose again, her mother was always there to catch her, always there to cry, to laugh, to hold. And so the story closed, not with an empire, not with a war, not with a crown, but with a single truth. Humanity proved itself not with power, but with love. And a girl once paralyzed now walked into her future hand in hand with her mother. The end.